All right, I will call to order the September 12th, 2022 Fairfield Golf Commission meeting. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, and since we have some people on the phone, we'll just take a quick roll call of who's here. This is Keith Marion, Peter Secret,
Mike Harrington,
Mike Feinstein.
Liam Herron, Peter Grace,
Anthony Calabrese,
Priscilla Schultz.
Great, and I think Bob Biganet will be calling in at some point. All right, I think that's everybody. Anybody else on the phone? I don't think so, right?
No, there are only 2 callers.
Oh, popular meeting.
So far.
Right. All right. First is the minutes from our August meeting. I was not here, so I will defer to everybody in this room. If anybody has any comments or...
I make a motion that we accept the minutes.
second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? I will abstain. Good. Looks like you've had a very brisk meeting.
You mean
Officially run these, right? It's so funny because it seems like it was longer than it was.
All right. We can start with some of the reports. I doubt Bob is on the call yet, so.
I am. Hello?
Great. Hey, Bob, how are you?
Hi. Sorry, I just got on.
Great.
Hello, everyone.
Thanks for the report. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Sorry I'm not there. I apologize. My report's very simple. I think we're doing really well. The course really came back nice with the rain. I think we're on an incredible run. I am cautious with our numbers being so good that we have to be reminded that the weather has been incredibly good. No rain at all, as Pete can attest to. Well, all in all, I feel like everything's really going good. Haven't been getting many complaints in any regards. We have a busy September coming up with outings. We had kicked it off with our first one today. It went very well. I just finished it up. But that's all I got to report.
Who was it today, Bob?
Today was the Recovery Network. They're out of Bridgeport. They help people that are addicts.
Oh, that's wonderful. Perfect day for it after the rain.
Yeah, it was really nice. We were able to get play out in front of it, so it really worked out fine.
Great.
I don't know if that's...
All right. Thank you, Bob. Anthony, anything you want to talk about?
Nope, you guys all should have received the August numbers. Like Bob said, numbers are up because we didn't have any rain. So keep that up, and we're looking good. It's a good jump start on the season. So
I've got a question. The resident rounds are up. I'm looking at the January to August 21 versus 22, and they're up 2,400, 22 over 21.
Yep.
Yet, if you look at IDs, the IDs are down by almost 400 IDs. Now, when you go for a season pass, do you also get an ID? I don't recall.
No.
Last spring.
Nope. So the ID. So yeah, season pass numbers, as you can see, are up by about 40, not 400. I mean, but yes, the IDs were down about 400. But yeah, season passes are up. I mean, more residents are playing than non-residents. That's.
But they're playing evidently without IDs.
Yeah. Maybe. I mean, the ID only makes sense if you're only, exactly, if you go a couple times.
Or is that maybe, Bob mentioned at the last meeting, abbreviated though it was, that with the 4-up system, residents can sign up 7 days in advance, but non-residents have to wait 6 days. And I'm wondering if we're seeing a result of that with the resident rounds being up so dramatically over the non-resident, year over year, because of the way 4-up is structured.
Could be. I don't know.
Yeah.
If you're I think we talked about this last time. If you're a resident playing without an ID, do you land in the resident?
Nope. Non-resident.
Non-resident.
Non-resident bucket.
Okay.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So,
Even though you're in Fairfield, your call is on your report.
Yeah,
As long as
and-
you don't
and-
get a yeah, that's
So a
right.
resident by definition in this report has to have a resident.
Correct.
That's helpful, yeah, okay.
Okay.
And that's why we've never been able to capture the real number of
Yeah.
residents playing, especially at the par 3.
Yeah.
Because you go down there and you pay
you just pay
$14 and, you know, it's a non-resident rate and that's that.
You know, last year you produced a report at the end of July, the non-resident golf rounds report. Do you recall this thing that was
But all that's,
ad nauseam detail?
yeah, no, we still produce a similar report, I believe, but it's only counting the people that don't have an ID.
Okay,
That's all it's ever counted.
okay. Now I have
Are
a
we gonna get better data, do we think, at a four up?
No.
No, same thing? We don't
same.
capture, like, someone comes in, no ID, we don't know where they're, we don't know whether they're, we don't know if they're Fairfield or Trumbull or whatever, yeah.
Nothing
Now, I
wrong.
have a second question. This report summarizes activity and revenue.
Mhm.
The youth programs are not included in this.
Right, so I sent you that as requested. Everybody should have got that as part of the report.
Are we gonna add that in there?
Nope, because it doesn't go into this budget. I mean, I could always put it on there, but
Okay.
it goes into our Parks and Recreation programming budget, which goes back to the general fund as well.
Well,
Can you describe them what this is? I have no idea.
Yeah, that's exactly
that's
what,
what it is.
that was what Mike had requested. He wanted to know, when we offer golf programs, not necessarily lessons, but summer camps and things of that nature. And the structure of that right now is, for all the the town takes all the registrations, and then we cut Bob a check for 75%, we keep the 25%. So that's what you see here as the breakdown, and then,
Okay.
yeah, so you'll see all the registration on the left, which is registration intake, and I had my staff break it out by fiscal year, and then the two columns to the left, you'll see 75% paid to Bob, and the rec cut is 25%. If everything works out appropriately, they should add up to that number on the left.
So that's because it's a recreation program that
Yep.
you offer, not something that's offered by Bob at the golf course?
Correct.
Okay.
see, I
Will that
question
always be that way?
That is how it's always been set up. The only thing that's different are lessons, which Bob handles directly, or his assistant pros handle directly, which we don't see any of that money.
That's not the
Right.
group, that's like individual lessons or whatever?
Correct.
Okay.
It just seems to me if you want a true accounting of the golf course for investments in the future, I mean, this is $28,000 that went to the town as a result of the
Mhm.
youth program.
Yeah.
It's really a golf activity. And it would seem to me, whether you want to change the way you structure the budget next year or whatever, somehow it should be acknowledged as part of the golf.
It could go in as a line on there. It doesn't really matter. It's just an Excel sheet.
What about,
The report we report on every month is just with Excel sheets. I mean, for my staff to run this, I mean, this is as of, I think the last one she put in there was 8.5. There might have been a couple other courses that have been paid out since then, but,
it's helpful information, you know, but what about like Glow in the Green, right? I mean, that's sort of like a hybrid again. It's a golf course event, but it's clearly a Parks and Rec activity.
yep,
And.
goes into the programming
Right, you're
account.
making money on that, I assume.
Don't say.
Hopefully, maybe a little bit, right, but that's not on here.
Right,
People
that's
make
not on
money
there,
that,
correct.
okay.
But that's
Yeah.
not really a
It's an
golf
amenity.
program,
Mhm.
right, that's more like an amenity thing. So but where's the line, I guess, as to what goes on this chart and what doesn't?
This was strictly based on Bob's contract.
Yeah, yeah.
So we included it in there because that was what Mike wanted to know about, which is
Alright.
perfectly fine. And again,
Yeah.
I don't mind starting to include a line on there, somewhere that we're tracking it every budget, because I agree with you guys. It's important, we should know about it.
should be a total.
Well, what I'm
The
more
other- I mean, the other-
interested in is the registration intake. I mean, it's helpful to know what the town's
Yeah.
getting, what Bob's getting. I'd like to know what we're making off these programs,
Sure.
sort of. So I think that's the most important number in my mind, is, you know, what's being paid to the town. Forget the fact that it's then being split, like,
Mhm.
that's helpful to know, but that's sort of like behind the scenes.
Yep.
So, you know, what programs are successful, what programs are making,
All the golf programs are
yeah,
successful.
clearly.
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I mean, they all sell out.
And I have a second question. We've got the revenue stream here, but we don't see anything about the cost side versus budget or how
Mhm.
we're doing year to date. I don't know if there's any way, and therefore the profitability or loss of the golf course.
That's a little trickier. I mean, it's a Munis report, which is our financial system. I mean, it literally is hitting a button. But a lot of times our finance department is probably 2 months behind. So I don't know that it's as helpful as you think it's going to be.
But I mean, maybe Peter can answer. How are we doing year to date on the cost side? With it?
You're fine. I manage all the budgets, so
Okay.
you're fine. We're doing just fine. We're tracking. The only things that are tracking over are typically our payroll, our seasonal payroll. And again,
There's
that's
been no differences, major differences from this year versus the previous year or the year before?
no.
But maybe we can get that in these reports though, right?
Yeah.
Like, is
Well,
that-
so I do a quarterly report
Yeah.
every quarter to the Board of Finance on
That's fine.
anything that has a 10% swing or $10,000. So that's, and like I said, normally it's those payroll accounts.
Well, maybe, again, I'm not trying
So
to.
it's an
create work here.
exception report then?
Yeah,
Anything
exactly.
that-
That they ask for a variance.
So if we
Yep.
don't get it, we assume we're on.
We're on, yeah, exactly.
All right.
You're gonna-
Yeah, I'm just saying, because I think, to Mike's point, it would be helpful, again, I'm not trying to create work here, it would be helpful to have sort of budget versus actual, you know, at least on some periodic time frame, whether it be quarterly or, yeah, exactly, anything like that.
Quarterly is the easiest because I have to, I'm already doing it.
I think that would be
So
helpful.
Yeah.
We don't need to.
As part of the numbers, and then if we included, the registration, numbers as well.
easy enough.
Does the town see the golf numbers as like a line item or
Holistic entity?
or is it just dumped into
They see
Park and
it,
Rec?
no, they see golf budgets broken out.
Okay,
So they'll see golf fees, they'll see carts, they'll see driving range.
they see this, essentially.
They don't see it to this level of detail,
Okay.
no. There's, I think, 4 or 5 line items in the revenue side of the budget that they see, and they'll see it listed for Smith specifically,
Yeah.
and then they'll see par 3
Got it.
very specific. And then Parks and Rec is different. I've got, I think, 7 budgets now that we oversee,
Okay.
so.
And just one
Two
thing,
golf.
totally separate, but, do you recall what the number that, the golf course was going, I don't know if it's required to pay, or maybe it's required to pay for the bonding on the borrowing on the clubhouse?
If you give me a few minutes, I can find it. I definitely have it. I know the numbers.
Yeah.
It's several $100,000 a year. Yep.
Yeah.
But
Okay,
I can
that's
pull
fine.
that up while
Yeah,
the next report's going on. No, I can get it tonight.
Several $100,000 after the new clubhouse.
Every year.
Every year. for
Yeah, the
10
debt
years.
service.
Was that?
Oh, it's definitely a 20-year bond, yeah.
Right, I mean, it's
Yeah,
not, yeah, it's not a golf course up.
But I include it in,
But they allocate
But
it.
they,
but I include it in our profit and loss
Yeah.
statement.
And it should,
Yeah.
yeah, right. It's a cost of the course I look at.
But that's a 10 or 15-year bond.
Yeah,
It was
20.
more than
It's a
10.
20-year.
Was it 20?
It's a 20-year.
Okay,
Right, because when you factor that in, that's when our profitability changes.
yes,
Yep.
it certainly does. Although thank
We're
goodness
still,
for doing it
we're
well
probably still
before.
profitable.
We're still in the black.
Yeah,
Mhm.
numbers
I
are
think so, too.
fantastic.
Numbers are
How do we
great.
know what Boca pays us?
Again, I can include that as a line item. It's per contract, they pay us twice a year.
Yeah.
It's 60-something thousand a year, so.
It's in the,
But we get a percentage of the.
Only if they go over 2 million. So last year, they were at like 1.7 million, yeah, okay, 1.6.
They're gonna somehow be one.
So this year,
Yeah.
theoretically, they
Last year
should be,
wasn't a full
it wasn't a
year.
full year. They missed the whole
Right.
first quarter. So
Right.
this year, they should be, I would think they're gonna break 2 million.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
that's
good.
good.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
And
we
what's our
got a
percentage
quarterly.
after that?
I think it's 2%
It goes up.
over 2
Yeah,
million.
it
Okay.
changes over, I think,
2% over
every
there's a
year.
Each year, right?
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
okay. But 2% for this.
Yeah, actually, you know,
Yeah.
if we're gonna do this, let's go,
Why
let's
not?
put them on a quarterly level as well.
Yep, that's easy enough.
Yeah, just so that we can see all the numbers of the course. That's information we probably should be, just, again,
Right, just to have,
right,
I
we should know.
agree.
right.
I agree.
like, how's the course doing on a holistic level?
Mhm. Easy.
Yeah. That's good. All right. Last thing for you, I know you guys talked about, I saw it in the minutes, but golf carts.
Well,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I had asked you in an email to go through, I don't know whether you want to do it now or when, but go through the whole budget cycle coming up and.
Whenever you guys wanna talk budget,
Whatever
we
you keep telling me.
gladly talk budget.
In the agenda.
Go ahead.
So, budget. So I'll start putting together our operating budget in October. Normally I sit with Peter, I'll sit with John Johnson for par 3, I'll sit with Bob, and I will go through all the budgeting line items, literally line by line, everything from office supplies to seasonal help to capital outlay. From there, I will sit with the first select woman. Normally that seems to be happening later and later every year. But it used to happen in around November. Then I would take her budget that she's already looked at and bring it to you guys for, perusal, and you guys would, I don't want to say rubber stamp it, but if there's anything that's glaring in it, you would point that out to me. I'd go back, adjust it, and you guys would approve it. Then that would go forward as the first select woman's budget when she presents and releases her entire budget in February, normally. So that's the operating budget, and then that goes through the normal, Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, RTM. So that'll be meetings in February, March, April, and then the RTM votes on it in May. So it's a lot of those meetings. As they go to each board, things get cut. Sometimes things get added, but they can only get added at the Board of Selectmen. They can get added at the Board of Finance. So typically what you'd see happen is I'd go before the Board of Selectmen, something will get cut. Board of Finance may not agree with it. They'll add that back in if they hear public outcry or determine that, hey, that wasn't the best cut. Once it gets past the Board of Finance and it goes to the RTM can only cut. So if something was cut by the Board of Selectmen or Board of Finance, the RTM, to appeal to the RTM at that point from the public or as a board, we can, but they can't do anything, essentially. Once they pass that budget, then it's approved. Board of Finance sets the mill rate in May, and we go on as start the process all over. The items for outside of that, so are what we call non-recurring capital items. So we need to spend $150,000 on a septic tank. I'm making that up. It's probably a lot more than that. That process is normally in January and February, and those are outside of the operating budget. So I would put together what they call a 14-point document. Board of Finance had laid this out several years ago, and there's 14 questions to justify that project, and they're looking for all those 14 points on there. I would present again to the Board of Selectmen. Once they vet the project and ask me a ton of questions, they'll decide whether or not to move that forward to the Board of Finance. Moves on to the Board of Finance after they approve it. They do the exact same thing. So they will ask a million questions, vet the project. Once they pass it, it then goes on to the RTM, who will do the exact same thing. So as you can see, it's a lot of questions. But normally that would happen within about a 2-month process. So that January, February, by the end of February, historically, the RTM, those non-recurring capital projects, have been approved, and once they're approved in February, that money's available right then and there. So again, we had that 10-year plan where we went for $100,000 for 10 years.
Right.
Once that money was approved, we got it, and Peter could start doing work. That's the same thing for capital projects, which are anything over $1 million. Capital projects can come through the process, I believe by charter, at any time during the year. So the clubhouse, that was a perfect example of it. Again, I think we might have presented that in like November or December. We didn't have to wait till the January, February procedure to do that. And it goes through those same 3 boards. So it'll go to the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, RTM. All those meetings for every one of those projects and everything are all public meetings, so anybody that wants to call in or attend those meetings to speak in favor of the project or against the project are welcome to do that. And that is typically the budget process. I think an overview of it at least.
Okay, a couple questions.
Simplifying it to say.
Trying.
If it's non-recurring and less than $1 million, it's by definition is not capital?
So if it's it's $100,000.
Let's take an example, $104,000 for
Yeah.
a simulator.
So that's a tricky one. It's a tricky one because it's supposed to be, there's certain items that it's supposed to be $100,000 to $1 million as one item.
Okay.
So if a simulator, for example, was 50,000,
Okay, that'd be different.
then they would say this doesn't qualify as a non-recurring capital project, and this needs to go into your operating budget. You want to buy 2 of these for $100,000, that doesn't count. It's got to be
The single item.
the single item. So they don't normally put cars in this category. Like the fire department, well, that's not a good example because some of those things are $500,000. But a public works truck or something that might not necessarily be over $100,000, they have to carry in their operating budget. Sometimes I don't want to say there's exceptions, but sometimes there's exceptions. I would have to look at the list to see, okay, we want to do a simulator, and I have to find out, does this meet the criteria to fall into a non-recurring project? Or should it be carried in our capital outlay line in the operating
Well,
budget?
where would the money, let's say it was a $150,000 septic system, or it was a $1.1 million septic system, where would the money come for either of those?
So both of those are over 100,000. It's a
Right.
one-item thing, so it would be the one for under $1 million would be out of the non-recurring capital, and the one for over $1 million would be out of the capital.
And when is the decision to bond any of those items? Is that just something
It's
that?
always bonded.
It's always bonded, so we never just use cash, right?
No.
It's always just bonded.
Always bonded.
Okay.
The only thing that throws a monkey wrench into the
Anything over
process.
100,000, we just put it in, we pile it in with a whole bunch of other things.
Mhm.
And then once it's together at a certain level, then we bond that whole group of projects.
Correct.
Okay.
That's
Yep,
what
so-
Craig said happened with the last
Yeah.
plan. They bonded the first million, 100,000 a year, but then every year they appropriated some number around 100,000 identified by individual
Right.
projects.
So
That wasn't new capital, it was already bonded.
right. So what the only thing we have different in the process right now is the first select woman and the administration have created what they're calling a working group to review all the capital projects and non-recurring capital projects. And they're actually going to be meeting, I think, within the next 2 weeks to talk about the next 5 years worth of projects.
Right.
So it's important that if we have projects that are over $100,000 that we want to see on that plan, that you guys let me know and we put them on there. Otherwise, I mean, everything we had talked about earlier when we were talking about the 10-year plan and everything, it seemed like most of that stuff was going to come out of our operating budget. And there's different ways to do the operating budget, because anybody that's followed the budget process knows that, if we go in and ask for $150,000 for simulators, they may say, no way, that's I'm making up numbers, that's a 10% increase in your budget. And most of the time the Board of Finance, who gets hung up on percentages, may say, no, it's just too much for 1 year. Obviously we could show a business plan to show that, hey, this is going to make back the money, and they're more than likely to say, okay, that makes sense, yep, we can do this at a 1 year cost. I think that's the advantage we have is, with the golf courses, where if it's another department, they might not have the revenue to offset the cost. But I think it's a conversation I have to have with Peter over the next few weeks when we sit down to talk budgets, to say, hey, we've allocated, I'm just going to say $200,000 in special department supplies or whatever the line item is. Do you really need? Can we get away with 175 and take 25,000 from that line and allocate it towards the simulators? And now, rather than asking for 150, we're only asking for 125. So there may be some wiggle room there. I don't know. Again, I have to start digging into the budget soon. Just a little early right now.
Well, let's take another example. The drainage on the 7th hole, which is like $50,000, and it's beyond Peter's skill set and equipment.
Yep.
So that will have to go out to bid.
So
Does that have to?
Yeah.
I want to ask purchasing
Yep.
separate, but that has to be in his operating budget to
Yes.
even consider going out for bid on that project?
Correct. Well, yes and no. No. I should say no. To go out to bid, he doesn't have to have the funding. So right. So he could put any project he wants out to bid just to get the temperature of the market. And a lot of times we'll just pick up the phone and call 3-4 different companies and say, hey, I'm looking at doing drainage, or I'm looking at doing this. Can you just give me a quote?
Right.
And they'll give you a rough estimate. And as long as you get a few of them, you kind of have an idea. Oh yeah, we're going to be in that $50,000.
Right.
If we have enough information and we're comfortable going for the money or spending the money that way, then we know when we put it out to bid that we should be in that neighborhood. Bigger projects, what we like to normally do is that and then go for the money, because a lot of big projects, businesses don't like to bid unless they know you have the funding to do the project. They don't like to waste their time. So, but purchasing is a whole different thing when you get into the whole budgeting. So anything between $3,000 and $15,000 at $14,999, we have to get 3 quotes no matter what. Always 3 quotes. Anything over $15,000 always has to go out to bid. As of the current, as of the policies as written now. They may change in the future, they may not, but yeah, so anything over $15,000, we're going out to bid no matter what.
Okay.
So even if he has the money in his budget, it's going out to bid.
Now, you mentioned once, when we were talking about the driving range, that there's a waterfall capital plan, and there's $500,000 in there?
Correct, and I just proposed that last week again. So now it's up to the working group to look at what I proposed with all those projects on there. Now, I've got more than just golf, and then there's engineering, public works, health department, conservation. They're going to look at hundreds of projects, and they're going to determine how many projects go before the boards next year. And they may say, you know what, we don't think this is a good idea to put $500,000 for the driving range next year. We're going to kick that down the road 2 years.
Is there any avenue to plead our case?
Once they go to present that. So I think in about 2 weeks they're going to present whatever plan they want adopted. Because I believe the Board of Finance is going to have to vote on it.
Okay.
So that's the time to, really come out and support and push for certain projects.
You pushed the driving range for fiscal 23-24?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Now, if you look at our plan that we put together, this Excel spreadsheet, which was something like $300,000 or $400,000, and we talked nominally $100,000 a year for 5 years. If I'm hearing you right, the only way, since there's no one project in there that stands out against these criteria, all of that has to be built into Peter's operating budget?
Yeah, or...
Which was not the case with the last long time.
Right, because they did a $1 million plan and said, hey, here's our plan, buy into it. Now, we've had these conversations with the Board of Finance recently, over the last few years, and they've said, don't come back to us with another plan. Really? Everything going forward, you need to support in your operating budget.
It's amazing, because I can remember a few years ago when they were bitching about no plan for the marina, and now they don't want a marina.
I know that, because they that was their understanding. We gave you $1 million, we gave you a new clubhouse, now you need to support the infrastructure and everything up there within your operating budget. Doesn't mean in 3-4 years we can't come back and say, hey, here we are again, we've got another 10-year plan. But they weren't ready to hear another 10-year plan right now.
Because if you look at, I was going to wait till the 10-year plan part of the agenda, but if you look at $500,000 for the driving range, $100,000 for simulators, $400,000 of individual discrete projects, that's an awful lot of money in a short period of time. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that the town's appetite is going to be very conducive to doing that.
Right.
And we need, I think, maybe as a group, to talk about what are our priorities.
But the what we'll call the 5-year, list of projects, that's coming out of the operating budget.
If we can get it done.
Right, but we're not going to the town asking for money. Yeah. So the golf course is a big number, and that will intimidate some people over there. And then, so it's really the golf course and the simulators. And are we hurting one or both?
Driving ranges.
Right, whatever I said, right. Are we hurting one or both by asking for them both at the same time?
Yeah.
Well, then I think we need to work with Peter in the way he formulates his operating budget for fiscal 23-24 to make sure some of the things in our plan are in there.
Yeah.
Well, and I agree with you, we would have to prioritize.
Whether it's forward bunker, tee boxes, whether it's cart paths. I'm not sure how much Peter would on his own think about, oh gosh, I better put all these things in.
Well, we put them in some level of an order of priority, and I thought from earlier conversations, we have the money to do a project this year, and then next year going forward, as we create the budget,
but
we should
be
able to.
The money to do what project this year?
I thought we were looking at 4 Ts, right? I mean, isn't that what?
That's what they're meeting about.
Yeah.
We're going to need. I didn't know that he was thinking of actually doing it.
I don't
And
know,
that's,
yeah.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
supposedly that's gonna happen this fall
Right.
in-house.
Okay.
Correct.
So,
With funds from the operating budget.
Correct.
funds from the operating budget,
That
correct.
we can do, and then you're right, going forward, Anthony's promised us that he'll get us all the money we need.
Yeah.
To do the other, but we have to make sure that, and
Let me
going
make a
forward in the
note.
Yeah, please
Yeah.
But we're gonna find enough flexibility, going forward that, you know, each year we could try to capture these projects without having to, you know, dramatically alter the budget.
Is that number for the
Well,
driving?
you throw them in the budget, right, and you can see if it's,
Yeah,
if
that's
it's
right.
after,
Right.
if they say, no, we're giving you 75%.
But you don't want to scale with a
Whatever.
huge difference.
That's
yeah,
true,
right.
right.
That's what I mean.
You have to know where that line
Can we
is.
massage you some of the
Yeah.
other line items to make sure that we can put a line item for 100,000 of drainage or whatever number we're doing, but then the bottom gross number is not ridiculously different than, you know,
Yeah.
so
Right.
that the percentage isn't 20% increase.
Do we get an actual estimate for what the driving range would cost, or are we just kind of making up this $500,000?
So, no, I got an estimate on the lights, which was around 250,
Okay.
and then, I think it was 250, and then I was basing the other 250 on just some site work and redoing the double, you know, putting a double decker and then redoing the little building there.
Any like top trace or anything like that you include in there?
Yeah, right, no.
All right, I was just wondering.
You ever can't even get top trace.
I know.
And we haven't even approached conservation or anything yet.
Correct, and, I mean, just going through the master plan with Parks and Recreation, the vendor that we had, you know, had looked at Doogie Park, and they kind of took into
Right.
consideration some of the upgrades to the driving range, knowing that we were looking at that. And they looked at a lot of other properties, and we got a lot of pushback on other things from conservation. So that's going to be a battle.
And there's no space whatsoever on the course itself to put a range, right? I mean, that's been talked about.
Before we put the clubhouse up,
Right.
we
Yeah, that's-
tried to
that's
explore
been-
as many options as we could, and
I know.
I literally just said.
the topography of behind like the cart barn
Right.
Right.
is just not.
It just drops off and it's
Yeah.
rocky.
It's a ravine, yeah.
Does the public then have it, I mean, people out there are gonna.
Yeah, the 12 houses. Yeah, the 12 houses there are going to lose their minds.
They're gonna freak out.
I would agree.
The lights.
The 12 houses.
The 12 houses. That's what's there.
But right, we'll deal with it. I mean, you're right. But the good news is that when did you put it in, when did the town first hear about the 500,000? Probably 2 years ago.
At least, at least I've been carrying it that
So we would
long.
hope that if there was a major objection to it, that again, unless things change, we would have heard about it. So hopefully at this point, you know, again, people may not have been focused on it, but maybe that, you know, depending on how the years go, that maybe next year that, you know,
The range
we're short
more
money.
than breaks even, right? The range makes some money, I believe.
The range pulls in normally about 160 a year, so.
Pulls in terms of.
Well,
revenue?
yeah, I mean, we'd have to back out the the cost of the staff and the cost of the balls, but I'm sure it makes money, yeah.
Oh, yeah, gotcha.
And then Bob has a great plan for that short game
Yeah, I
area
know
there
that.
too, if we can get that
Cool.
through, that
It
would
would
be
be nice.
wonderful.
Mhm.
Which will draw more people to the range, so.
You know, so that's.
It would be cool.
Yeah.
But having to drive, you
I
know.
know.
yeah,
It'd be
yeah.
so nice if it was
Because
on site.
we have, and I know this is not functional, but we have the Smith Richardson hiking area that's adjacent, right? It's town property adjacent to a golf course that is, right, it's totally separate space. It really is separate land. However, there's just the way that the land is set up and it's just, I just don't think it's functional. I
Yeah.
keep looking at it going,
And just the cost is prohibitive
Yeah.
just to do that, where the range is there.
It's there.
It's there.
Doug Yellow's there, right?
Doug
It's a
Yellow's
way
there.
easier sell
Right.
to
It's
just take
not
some trees
ideal.
down in between sort of the two driveways, you know, and.
Can we
So-
do some like they have at Disney, like a shuttle or something, get a shuttle
I know.
train back and
We've
forth?
talked about it.
No, Liz.
We've talked about
Seriously?
doing
Well, not a bad idea.
No, I was-
Yeah, but I
I was
think,
being
when we do like the golf carts, or the golf carts, the cart paths, I think we have to kind of think about,
We had enough carts.
right, is there a way to build an easier path in and out of there?
That would be wonderful.
Right?
Well, it
I
goes
mean,
right
that
to the
cart
11th
path
hole
along
right there, right
18
down
right
the
now,
center.
the 8-foot wide, brand-new cart
Mhm.
path that goes all the way up, just about to the 11th,
Yeah,
just
we-
about to the cart.
Well,
line.
we see
I
them
mean,
all
to
the
the
time,
meet.
like when we're playing 11, you know, they're always
Yeah.
cutting through for
Yeah.
the kids.
But think of how many
for that
golf courses
practice
you've been
room.
at where they have, you know, road crossings, right? And we
Right.
can build in a road crossing, we can build in a path that went in and out of there, so you could get a golf cart, you could go up there, yes, it'll be a pain, but it's better than what it is right now, which is you just kind of have to figure it out and either drive or do whatever. I mean,
The neighbors would be more tolerant of that too, because there's less automobile traffic.
That's fine, good point, yeah.
And I don't even think you're allowed to at this point. go take a cart with your clubs and go to the
I've
range.
never tried, I've
Yeah.
never tried.
Yeah.
How would you do it?
Well, the lesson, they do the lessons.
Well, Bob comes up all the time up there.
They
and it's
did
fine.
the lessons. Yeah.
Bob had to go
Well, there's a
down.
path that
Drive
goes
up
right
10 or
there.
11, right.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, but, yeah,
But you're right, you'd have to find it.
Sorry. Right,
You know what I
yeah.
mean, like,
Oh, you'd have to.
we would build like an actual,
That would be
I think, a
wonderful.
pathway, you'd have to worry about 11 getting hit with a drive, but we can figure
Absolutely.
that out. Again, we can figure out like some type of system.
After we put your forward tee on 11, you can go right behind it. Across that green and across the road.
There you go.
$500,000 first.
Yeah.
We've already spent it.
I know you guys
We've already spent it.
Abs going.
I could take $500,000.
Anthony's got that water.
Oh, yeah.
Fine.
But last thing on the driving range, is it necessary to have lights? Like, do we need to have this for night? Because that's that much money?
Yeah, I know.
Well, like, to be honest,
So-
I've never heard of a driving range at a public course with lights.
So-
I mean, it's awesome, but like.
So
it's not that
Stanford
necessary.
brings in about $1 million.
Sterling Farms Drive, have you ever been there?
No.
Oh, my
But is it gonna
goodness.
be 365? I mean, is that? what
Why
you-
not?
Yeah.
I mean, if we're gonna put lights in, I would heat them.
You put $250,000 of lights,
So
not
Sterling
have
has
it.
double decker, they
Yeah.
have lights,
They
they
do.
have heaters, they
Cool.
have plastic that,
Oh,
you know,
cool.
that,
Yeah.
separates
Separates
all
each
the,
bay.
each of the bays.
If we do that, like that, I didn't realize that's what we're
Sterling
something
Farms
that's
is,
doing
I
for
would
free
draw
65.
all the
It would
time.
make so much
I
money.
would use it all.
I would make it all the time.
Exactly.
Right.
It would make its money back in a year.
That's like sucks.
I've never been to the one in Sheldon.
It's awful.
Oh, the one in Sheldon?
And
Yeah,
It's
just
so
awful.
beat up.
Is it really?
It's like, you know how our mats are all ripped?
Yeah, it's awful and you can't get in.
So they're not
That's
putting
like
money
burned
into
out
it.
grass, it's dirt, like, every time I go there, I'm like, it has top trade, so you can kind of get
Okay.
some data.
Sort of
And
works.
it's expensive.
Which sort of works,
It's not
right?
cheap.
Because you know what it says, have you seen what it says too? It says, on a golf course, like, if you hit an 8-iron, it said 145 or whatever, but then it would say on the, here, 145, but then under it in small, actual 120, or something, like, it gives you like two different numbers, it's
I
like
think
the
those
weirdest
balls
thing.
are not-
That's
Wow.
because the balls are cracked and old.
Yeah. Or a company.
Anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
We would make that money back quickly.
We would definitely make it back, but they don't look at that when they also do the line items of the
Nope.
budget, they don't
They
look
look at
what we
expenses,
bring.
Right.
correct, they look at the revenue and
Which is too
expenses
bad.
separately.
That's short-sighted.
That is very short-sighted. Because at one point, I felt like the golf course was the only thing making money for the town.
That's true.
Oh, it's up beach passes, come on.
Oh, beach passes
Yeah,
make just as
anything
much.
makes money.
But
What-
you've
what-
gotta
what
put
did
money
you say,
into
Priscilla?
to get money out of it.
Golf course only,
I know,
Profit.
it was
No, no.
Speaking of
Marina
football,
makes a $500,000.
Right.
You have to sort of, not only maintain the clubhouse.
Right, Anthony?
Yeah, don't get me started.
I'm
So don't get
sorry,
you
I know.
started.
Marina makes money. So the golf simulators, are we even gonna advocate for those in our next budget cycle or not? In addition to all the other things.
did we finally get did they finish up a quote on that? I don't know if I know
It was supposed to be,
Or two.
I don't know if.
Is Bob
if-
still there?
Don't look at me.
Yeah, I don't know if purchasing got the information they were requesting.
Yeah, I gave it to him. I gave it to him a good
So
while
then-
ago. I
So
just
it's
think
pretty
he's
much
been out.
purchased.
Yeah, I thought it was like 110, is that what it said?
What was it, Bob?
Well, they've got to put it out to bid, so
Yeah.
they were, I know he wanted,
He
Gerald
requested
wanted to
extra
put it up.
information, and I gave it to him.
All right.
But I think he's been
Yeah.
sick.
So that's where it is now, it's with purchasing?
Mhm.
I mean, I say go for it, because, again, I think they're different projects, they're both revenue producing, the range and the simulators. So, again, I think we have a good story to tell them both.
Does go for it.
And they're sort of different, right?
Mhm.
We're not, this isn't gonna go in the same budget as,
No, different, but, I mean, it's different,
Yeah.
one's a capital outlay and, yeah, one's.
What is
an
your
operating.
recommendation? Do you think they'll entertain both?
Yeah, yes, I do.
Okay. I mean, if we have a chance of getting it passed, why not?
yeah, sure,
If you don't ask, you definitely won't get it.
that's right.
Yep.
We need to come up with a cool name for it, though. It can't just be like the simulators. It has to be like something. So.
So I keep you work on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll make a motion for you to come
Yeah.
up with that name.
It'll be like Welcome to the Jungle above
Yeah.
No, but, yeah, I mean, again, I think, like I said, I think they're both good ideas for the golf course, and I would say, let's do both.
Thank you, Anthony.
Yep, you're welcome.
Very informative,
Yeah.
appreciate it.
All right, maybe this is just for me, because I think you guys talked about it, but you could just tell me about the golf carts. That would be,
So that is with purchasing, I believe they're just finalizing, the contracts.
and then 80 for some reason. I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, 80 is what we
80 codes.
have now.
Yeah. We have 60/20. We're getting rid of all those and just going to turn it into an 80 new lease, right? Or new
Yep.
buy, right? Sorry.
Yep.
Lakewood Ranch again?
I love that.
I don't know.
I was joking. Looks like you stole them. Like hot. All right. All right. Thank you. That was a long report. Appreciate it. Peter Grace, are you on the call still?
Yeah, I dozed off there for a little while.
Thank you. Thank you for staying on. What do you tell us about the course? I mean, I'm sure the rain helped a lot.
Oh, the rain helped immensely. As I sent out that thing of Aquarian, I think the whole thing is straightened out because I've called them and repeatedly sent emails to them asking what's going on, and they have not got back to me. So I'm back to just doing what I do normally. I've got some issues with the irrigation system as usual. Course came back. The 18th green I think looks pretty good, except for the usual walk-off areas because we've had a lot of wear and tear on the golf course. But for the most part, we've hung in there, and we're in the bird months: September, October, November, and December, and I like these months.
How are we going to protect the 18th green on your hole-in-one adventure? Isn't it the 18th green they're going to be shooting for?
Yeah, we've done this event now twice. So, yeah, I believe that Bob and Peter. Yeah, I think we had 3 people hit the green last year.
You don't have to worry.
It got tough to be chairman.
Be careful on the patio, though.
How many yards out was it?
It's 135.
Okay, and you only had 3 people hit the green?
And a golf ball bounced right off.
Not many more than that.
Wow, how many?
I haven't seen it. I was sitting there with
And,
Pete
oh my
talking about
goodness.
three of them coming up, and you
Something
could
like
just hear
that.
this bang, and the golf ball went right
And
in
fewer
the
than
door.
10
Yeah,
hit the green.
definitely fewer than 10.
Wow.
That had nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
Peter, what was the resolution of the pressure drop problem that you had with the water system when you turned on all the irrigation system?
I never got. They told me to set it all up to run on that Friday, whatever that Friday date was. I can't remember off the top of my pointy head, but they told me to set it all up to water, and they were going to put all these monitors all over the place. And whatever they did, it seemed to alleviate the problem because I started getting pressure at my house again when the irrigation was running between 11 and 4 a.m. I asked them, and I've sent, like I just said, I sent countless emails out to them and gave them calls, and they never got back to me. So I'm just assuming everything's okay.
Good.
They fixed the problem with some valve that was probably not properly open somewhere in the streets of Easton or Fairfield, and they figured it out, opened it up, and things are fine now.
But you're still restricted to 2 days a week?
No, we had a variance. I think that was the girl that I was dealing with because she was worried about the water pressure dropping and people in the town of Easton complaining about their water pressure. So she asked me to go to 2 days a week, so which I don't think she even had the authority to do so because she was on a different side of the Aquarian side, and we did have a variance there. So I was just me going by what she said, and I don't think I had to do it, but I did it anyway.
Peter, I noticed that some of the forward tees are really beat up, and I don't know if that is an irrigation problem or if that's just a result of the drought. They seem to be a little bit more beat up than most of the back tees.
Both is correct. Yeah. All I have is rough heads that hit that, so if I turn on the rough head on 18 tee, for example, that if I turn it on for 10 minutes, that one head that's closest to it maybe hits that tee twice. And then it floods the rest of the area. So it's an irrigation problem and obviously a drought problem because we weren't getting any rain.
Right, the combination of the two. There's a big difference now. Yeah, hopefully we'll get more rain and hopefully we can figure out a way to get more water to those forward tees.
Are we going to be able to adjust the?
And the other one is the 15th tee. The 15th tee we were going to get going, and all of a sudden we got hit with that hot heat, and
right.
So we didn't want to put. So now we're getting to the cooler days, so we're going to put some thought on that. Again, there's another area where the irrigation. It's a rough head. It is way away from it, and it barely hits it. So we have to make some adjustments going forward, like for the 11th tee, 7th tee. We're going to have to actually get
actual irrigation right there to take care of it because it's going to have the same problem.
Good, good. Now, in your email, you noted the 22nd. You said Wednesday the 22nd. The 22nd is a Thursday. So did you want Wednesday the 21st or Thursday the 22nd?
I think it was, I can't do it the 22nd. We have a big outing that day, the 22nd. So I meant the Wednesday the 21st. The Wednesday the 21st at 3:30, if that works for everybody.
Would it be possible to make it 3:45?
No way. Of course.
I hope he's joking.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, I am joking.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
3:45 is fine.
Perfect. Thank you, Peter.
All right, I'll send out a calendar invite to everybody. Whoever can make it, great. Whoever can't, we can report back.
Okay.
So that's Wednesday the 21st,
Yep.
3:30.
3:45.
21st.
Depends on how traffic is from New Canaan.
Yeah, right. Okay, great. All right, anything else for Peter? Okay, thank you. Greens Committee.
Well, basically,
Yeah, I know.
the course is in great shape, just the tees are a little bit of a concern. Thank you for putting the seed on some of the forward tees. As we've been waiting, we've been like filling them in, but that's been very helpful. And thanks again, you weren't here at the last meeting, I don't think. Thanks for the water on 13. We have a bench, we have water, it's wonderful. So thank you.
We aim to please.
Yeah.
Peter, are you able to do something with that branch that's overhanging on the 9th, on the back tees on the 9th?
Bob Bignet does not want that removed because he likes to hit it and send it up to Easton.
Yeah.
Well, I need to get somebody in there to do that. I'm thinking about taking the whole tree down. The tree warden has no problem with that. We got to find a time to do it.
And can we just get rid of that tree on the corner on the right side? Makes it very hard to go around.
All of them.
You're preaching to the choir. There's about 2,500 trees that need to come down. It's a matter of just getting to it.
Yeah. I was half joking,
but yes, I agree with that. And we got a whole bunch of stuff. You go down the left side of 11 by the cart path where all the trees overhang. It just gets soaking wet over there because when the irrigation goes, it hits those trees and it just makes it soaking wet over there, and it's bone dry in the approach. So there's a lot of things that need to be done out there to improve it. We try to improve every year going forward, and we'll just keep plugging away.
But Peter, I got to tell you that the course for the drought that we've had, it's in very good shape. You and your guys have done a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Took care of the drainage problem. If it doesn't rain, you don't have a drainage problem.
That's true.
Yes, and then we'll talk about irrigation problems. And next year we'll have monsoons, and we'll be talking about drainage again. So it's a vicious cycle.
All right. Anything on the par 3? Liam, Mike?
I didn't play, but I walked it about a week or so ago, and I thought it looked really good. A couple of tee boxes were a little beat up, obviously, but everything looked really good. But the course was I walked back 7 holes. It looked good.
I'm playing it on Friday for the first time this summer,
nice.
so that'll be fun.
You could do the par 3 report next
There you
month.
go.
My only comment is the greens are they're long. So I guess that's probably intentional, but
Yeah.
they seemed longer. I played it yesterday. They seemed longer than normal.
Are they doing that purposely so they won't burn out?
That's what I was wondering. Maybe because there was no rain, they weren't cutting them. I don't know. And the
They've always
geese are
kept
still
them
a problem.
long.
The geese were more of a problem yesterday than they had been in a while. So again, it's something. I mean, that's sort of not. I don't know what to do about that. We've taken these measures for years. So yeah, I mean, they're not allowed. But anyway, I thought otherwise the course looked pretty good. So all right. I'm not sure there's a whole lot more to talk about on the 50th anniversary celebrations. I think the par 3, what was the date of that one?
They moved that to September? Did it already happen?
I thought it already happened, didn't
It
it?
already happened? I don't even know.
I was gone, sorry.
It already happened.
Bob?
No, we didn't have enough sign-ups, so we tried to postpone it.
Yeah, it's like the
I
third.
think we had, if I'm not wrong, I think we had 6 sign-ups.
Okay.
I think it was the timing was bad. It was vacation time, early, mid-August. It was a bad time for kids.
Okay, all right, well, I think,
You probably chase those up there.
yeah. All right, unless anybody wants to talk more about the long-term plan, I think we've talked about that. What else? Anybody else have anything else they want to bring up? All right, any emails? Nothing?
Not a one?
Mr. Daly?
Thank you, Brian Daly, 195 Hurd Street. Just a question, we were talking about the $500,000 for the driver range. Does that include the short game area, or is that separate?
Yeah.
Does all that work?
We hope.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
We hope.
And just history that I've learned is they did look at putting the driving range behind the car farm where all the trees are and cut it out, but it's wetlands.
Yep.
They weren't allowed to touch it.
Right.
Don't you love how the town can reject the town? You know, like, you would think that the town could, like,
Yeah.
get
Well, that's
special.
checks and balances,
It is,
right?
that's the point.
Yeah.
Right.
map right there, and a lot of trees right there.
Yeah, there it is.
I literally, I mean, I just circled
That's where we
it on
tried to put it.
I just circled it like 2 days ago on the GPS.
Yeah, the
And
trees
then
aren't
the
the problem, it's the wetlands that are the problem.
Yeah.
In the topography, it's just,
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
kinda
big
down.
ravine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what would be
You'd be hitting uphill.
a
it's
great
dark and wet.
idea, you would never be able to get it because it would cost too much, is if you, where the driving range is today,
Right.
you've got so much land, right? You could put 2 holes out there, and then you can take 4 and 5 as holes, try to build a driving range down there, and that's right by the clubhouse, so you wouldn't have to drive, and
There was an original plan to put 9 holes over there.
Yeah,
well, there's
Wow, I didn't hear that.
And the
That's
Great
very
Richardson.
intriguing.
area, there was a real effort to put 9 holes,
Yeah, I heard about that one. I think
And-
Tony told me about that.
and that was,
The topography is awful though on that
you
one.
couldn't,
Where's that?
and plus, it was
That's
just
a pretty good idea.
because that wasn't the
Yeah,
intention.
Priscilla, you see 4 and 5 right there, right below?
Yeah.
That would be a perfect spot.
I think that's a
You're right.
great idea.
But it was, after
Money, you talk about money, relocating holes is dramatic.
Well, look at all the work they just did, that Pete just did for the whole, like, that wetlands area right in front of 4, too.
Well, I'll tell you, so, anybody know what geocaching is? You guys know what geocaching is? Like, my
Yeah.
kids do this.
Oh, yeah.
And there was one way past the shooting range. And so my daughter and I hiked, you know, on the right side of the range.
Just past the other side of the
Driving all the way up
range.
through there, then all the way back into the woods.
No, it's the
I was blown
PD.
away by how much land is back there.
Yeah.
I never really hiked back there, and I was going, there's acres of land over there. That's just, it's gorgeous, and it's a
Whose
field.
land is it?
I mean, the town.
Conservation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how we got it or when we got it, but it's just like these beautiful fields, you know?
When they last looked at putting 9 holes in, it was a real effort. It went before boards and everything, and it ultimately was decided, well, that wasn't the intention of
Yeah.
Mr. or Mrs. Richardson.
Totally.
Yep.
You know, and they didn't want to go from that charter or whatever was established back then, so.
Was that when they were considering having 27 holes?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was an effort. It seemed like it was potentially gonna go through.
Was it gonna be a full 9 or like an executive,
No,
like Glenn?
it was a full 9,
Really?
like sort of what they have at Toshua.
That's what, like, Cassia was like that weird, short,
Little
executive.
Yeah.
board, but
Yeah.
I'm sure there would have been some short holes, but
Mhm.
Are there actual plans, like, as far as the hole
Oh,
layout and
they're
everything?
old.
they're old,
Like really
yeah.
old, I think.
I mean, they talk about the 9th hole, right? They would need more parking, so they would make 9 a par 4. And create parking on.
Oh, okay.
Right. Like, get rid of the turn, right? You don't worry about your
yeah,
tree.
dogleg, yeah.
Yeah.
See a lot of balls in cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
There's so much area up there.
Yeah, interesting.
Then my only other question, I don't know if the numbers, I know at one point they were supposed to be on the website, like the monthly numbers, I still can't find them, I'm not sure if they're getting out there.
Yeah.
I did send all the, all the reports, everything that
that I send to them, I send to the town clerk's office to, put into, like the backup.
Yeah.
So it should be, if you go to, meeting, agendas and minutes
Yeah.
manager, it should be, there's a file, here, let me see if I can.
Like backup.
It's called backup.
Yeah, it's called backup, but it's where the agendas
I
are.
find the agenda and the minutes, I just don't see,
You have to look for backup.
okay.
So it'll say, when you do the drop menu,
Yeah.
it'll say, agendas, minutes, and it should say backup. I'm gonna look right now, actually, or are you?
No,
Okay.
I was looking for those bonding numbers that I almost forgot about.
All
That's
right,
all I have.
all right. Well, thank you, everybody. We doubled your time, so. I kinda want Peter back in charge.
I would put an end to that. Park through the parking lot.
Yeah. All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right,
I'll second it.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Not in favor?